I know my timer's going. I just can't sit. There it goes. Hi, I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube, and the timer just jumped from 0 to 5 seconds, and I love it. That's funny.
Mhm.
Um, Joining me is my buddy Mark Gillman at I_Barnabas. We're here to discuss some more Cult of Thorn. We're also going to discuss some Friday the 13th since tomorrow is Jason Day. And
Yes.
his mother, we can't forget about her.
No, not at all.
So go ahead. I'll let you start first with the Cult of Thorn. Go ahead, sir.
Um, I've really just been thinking a whole lot about them since we talked in the last video, and there's something about them that just really fascinates me. And that's one thing I love about Halloween is that there's so many different takes on why Michael does what he does, some origins to him. And at first I didn't like the Cult of Thorn, but um there's something about them that just fascinates me. It's like, how far back do they go? Because Paul Rudd's Tommy Doyle mentioned them, um, that they were, an old druid, an ancient druid cult. So it's like, how far back do they go? And I just kept thinking about what is their significance about why they picked Haddonfield. And, if their thing is that they groom children to become someone to kill for them, who was it before Michael?
I'll say this too. So let's like the Stonehenge would be a great example. I would say the first real Druid meeting would have took place there, like
Mhm,
because every cult has like fictionally has like this location.
mhm,
So what if they were at the Stonehenge, and really we don't know exactly how they started off because all cult origins usually try to stay true to how they started.
mhm,
It's but I'll now this isn't the same thing as a cult, but when you look at Connell Cochran's witchcraft, he
mhm.
doesn't use traditional magic.
No, he doesn't.
He uses a bit of technology with magic.
Mhm,
And I'd never seen anything like that before in a witchcraft movie,
mhm,
where, because when you think of witch, you're thinking of black magic, spells, potions. Like,
mhm,
I'm not talking the cauldron, mind you,
mhm,
but like you usually see a witch have like it in a vial, have like powder on
mhm,
them, and that's what they would show in those old black and white movies, or even
mhm.
on stage, you would see this shit. So if Connell Cochran's not your traditional witch, it sort of breeds the question of, okay, how far did Terrence Wynn's Cult of Thorn stray from the original Cult of Thorn? Like,
Mhm.
did did the Cult of Thorn start off by sacrificing their children instead of breeding them to be killers? That could be a thing. Or
Mhm.
if they bred them, or if they made them into killers, did they do it the exact same way? Because that's sort of the weird part about that, if that's the case,
Mhm.
you know?
And Connell Cochran didn't have any human followers. Everyone there at the factory were, they were his own creation.
Yep.
So, I mean, he didn't have any followers. He was just doing everything all on his own.
Yep.
And with Dr. Wynn's Cult of Thorn, and I have to say, played by the late great Mitchell Ryan. Um, and you know, it's just something to think about, um, like what their origins were, because the Cult of Thorn in 1995 was very, they were very dark and very sadistic. Um, they had a strong sense of menace to them, and you think if they were that bad, how seditious um, and evil was the original cult.
Remember in Halloween 2, Dr. Loomis gets into where the druid priest would burn animals alive and shit.
And
I'm sort of
people,
wondering, yeah, and people, and I'm sort of wondering if that's the Code of Thorn he's sort of talking about in a weird way. I know he doesn't say cult,
mm-hmm.
but he does say druid priest. And
I thought about that.
I'm sort of wondering. I'll plead guilty. I am because I watched it earlier. Like,
well, if I would have been home, I would have too.
Because I'm like, doesn't Loomis say something about a druid priest in one of these Halloweens? I'm sure he does. I'll go back and watch. So I'm like, I threw in Halloween too. Oh, it's like, oh, you throw it in that movie again. I'm like, yeah, let's watch it. You'll enjoy it. So he said in the car, he says about the druid priest, and I'm like, wait a second. That could be the Cult of Thorn.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of wondering, was it? Was he talking sort of about the Cult of Thorn? That being the druid priest, they would burn humans, animals alive to make a sacrifice to Samhain on the night of Samhain. Mm-hmm. So it's like to see the sea omens of the future. Mm-hmm. But so is that where the Cult of Thorn started off at? And here's Cochran. Terrence Wynn, who's now made up his own iteration of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's good too. That was a great thing. I never connected 2 with 6 in that way, right. But that would make a lot of sense because in our last video, I was saying I was just wondering, like, what is it about the Cult of Thorn that they were, what was their goal? What was it that they were trying to do? And when you look at it in that perspective of what Loomis said, that they were doing things to, that they would do these horrible things to see omens of the future. And to go back to Halloween, when Dr. Chalice asked Colonel Cochran, he says, why? And he said, it was for us, it was a way of controlling our environment. Mm-hmm. So I guess it was a way for them to, have these powers, be able to see the future, see what's coming in, and, I guess live eternally. So that kind of makes sense to me.
It's weird how power works and how certain fictional characters mm-hmm. want to keep their power, and generally it's always an innocent person has to get hurt. Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you something. What do you classify Count Patofe as?
Definitely warlock.
Okay. See, I said that too. Now, I don't think he works for the devil. Mm-hmm. I just think he was born with his powers. Mm-hmm. Sort of. We hear in the movie Highlander where, Connor McLeod was born an immortal. There are X-Men who are born mutants. Mm-hmm. Here's Patofe. He was born with this crazy powers. Mm-hmm. And it sort of makes you think, well, Patofe was born with his powers. Who all was born with other powers? Like the gypsies. The gypsies were born with their powers. They have powers and shit. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like, oh, so there are literally people out there who aren't just people. They're people with special abilities. And it's so when you think to sort of jump back to the Code of Thorn, I think maybe the first initial member is someone who was born with an ability to see into the future. Because the beautiful thing about sort of a comparison of Dark Shadows about leaders, like let's say Trask, Patofe, they always sucker in their followers. Judas Zachary is a great example too. Mm. They always sucker in their followers because why? They have legitimacy to them, or some legitimacy. Now, with Trask, it's more, he doesn't have shit. But
right.
With Judas Zachary, he has a lot of legitimacy because he does have power. So that's how he's sort of suckering in his followers. It's because he's not really so much suckering them in as he's winning them over with his magic, with his power. They love the power and they want to be a part of that power. So, but then it goes from wanting to be a part of it to wanting it yourself. And it's sort of like, so now that's to get back to the Code of Thorn. Let's say here's the original Druid priest at the homes headstone. God, I butcher my words, but so they're there. I'll say, and
yeah,
here's the original Druid priest. He has powers. Well, here's these other members. They don't have shit. He can see the future, but now he's got to. Now he walks away, let's say, not from the first meeting, not the second meeting. Let's say he gets a couple meetings in, and they're starting to question, well, why can't we have powers? And then he tells them, not necessarily a lie, but half a lie. He tells them, well, you have to make a sacrifice. And that's where that starts. And turns out it wasn't necessarily a lie. It was the truth, but as it gets further down and twisted, think of, here's where Terrence went really fucked up. Okay, here's where I think Terrence went not just with with Michael, because the moment you go after someone who sold their soul to the devil, at 6 years old, you're done for.
Exactly.
You're done. There's by the time Terrence Wynn knocked on the door, there was no one home. There was no one home. But where he really messed up with, even before Michael, was convincing his followers that they literally had to find somebody who would kill their family for the Curse of Thorn, for the thorn symbol in the sky. I think he took the thorn symbol in the sky literal, as, oh, somebody has to sacrifice their family member. When they hear Michael's doing this, I sort of agree with the movie Absolute Evil. There's our guy. That I agree with sort of what they're saying too in their fan film, that's their dude. So when they go after him, they get him. It's like, you're making a real big mistake, because then there needs to really be a Halloween 6.0. Yes, Daniel Ferrens, if you're watching this video, please write this movie where Michael's killing the Thorn cult members.
Yes.
And they're scared shitless by 1995. I have him on Facebook, and I was like, dude, your movie was the first Halloween movie I saw in theaters. And he's like, awesome.
Nice.
I remember, like, when I saw it up on the billboard of the Laurel Mall, I looked right at my mom. I'm like, we were going on vacation. I'm like, pretty please. She's like, all right, we pulled right into the
Awesome.
When you have a mother who likes horror, she's caving to that. It's like,
that's awesome. You had a great mom.
I did. She was awesome, man. I love her to death. She liked horror, so she's like, man, this is a pretty dark movie. She goes, now here's the thing. My mom was not a hypocrite. She goes, she didn't like Halloween 3, 4, 5, and 6. And can you guess why? Michael went after kids in those movies. Now she likes the tone of the movie, but not when Michael goes after kids.
Well, that's understandable.
And I'm like, I looked at my mom. I'm like, why? She's like, listen. One day when you're a parent, she goes, no, you know what? Fuck it. She goes, you may still like this when you're a parent. She goes, but when I see a killer going after a kid, I just don't care for it. She goes, I like Halloween 1 and 2. I said, wait. And I tried to get her on that. I was like, years ago when my mom was still alive and she could see, I was like, Mom, wait a second. In the original Halloween, there's Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace. She's like, yeah, but he's not after them. He's after Laurie Sharp. I was like, And she's a teenager. She can defend herself. She's fine.
Exactly. That's it. So she's all right.
I'm like, you wrong. But yeah, I think that's the thing too. Like with the Cult of Thorn,
Mm-hmm.
they really, their biggest mess up was when telling them they could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you don't know what other people do, like Michael, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll, I'll kill anybody for you. You know, Michael's already made a deal with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't have, Michael doesn't have a soul.
No.
Like, you can't give that guy, you can't take what that guy is already doesn't have. He did. No. So his mess up was, not doing the proper research and realizing the person he thought, could help his cult out.
Mm-hmm.
And really the concept of his cult probably strayed so far from the originator,
Mm-hmm.
it turned out bad for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking where you were talking about, and I'm sorry to backtrack, where you were talking about Trask and Judah Zachary.
Right.
Um, Judah Zachary, and this is a difference in someone like Trask and Judah. Judah knew how to deceive people and control them. Um, Trask really believed he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And he really believed in himself that he was doing what was right. And Judah was someone that he wanted to control people, and he would tell them whatever to make them believe that they were special and get them in a place where they were vulnerable and suck them in and pledge their life and loyalty to him, even at the cost of their death. And I started thinking, what did I started thinking about the people that, we didn't know a lot of people from Halloween 6 that were a part of the Cult of Thorn. The only ones we really got to know were Dr. Wynn and Miss Blankenship.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I don't think it ever mentioned Miss Blankenship having children, right?
Right. She was apparently deaf, and because the one girl says you could drive a truck straight through that house and she wouldn't hear it. So I took it as she was either A, hard of hearing, or B, deaf. So I say hard of hearing because she could hear people talking to her.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it just made me wonder if something like maybe if she felt vulnerable at one time about, who knows, maybe she wasn't able to have children, and whoever was leading the Cult of Thorn at the time, got her in a vulnerable spot and said, if you join us, we'll let you watch over the children that we are preparing to be, like Michael was, where she babysat Michael, and that was a way of hitting her in a vulnerable spot, that she would always take care of the children and raise them. So I don't know. It's really, yeah, you can just go so many ways there, and that's what I've really become obsessed about the Cult of Thorn, and just love thinking into their lore a lot and creating a lot of it in my head. And there's just there's so much good story there that can still be told.
Well, they preyed on the rich and uber wealthy, but they also did prey on people who were vulnerable. So it could be, maybe you could be onto something there. So I do think that with the cult, it, it, they had certain, like when you hear the late Mitchell Ryan, the late great Mitchell Ryan sort of throw his voice, say Danny, and all fucking creepy and shit, and it's eerie. And I think that was sort of, he had what I like to call demonic hypnotism.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, sort of how Barnabas could control you by looking in your eyes or summoning you. Well, that's what Wynn could do with little kids. He could control some of their mind a bit, but they had to they had to almost have no will of their own. And kids generally, they have will, but again, they're so innocent, they don't know what evil is, and they can be corrupted pretty easily. Mm-hmm. So that's what to me, Terrence's Wynn's cult really banked on, was how easily a child can be corrupted.
Exactly. And, with him being a doctor of a mental health facility specializing in mental health, he would be, very familiar with practices of hypnotism. So it would be easy for him to do. He would be very, very good at it. So that would, increase that. I don't know if you'd call it a gift or whatever, but it would hide that gift that he had of hypnotism. He would know how to reach people even more. And I think that would be something that the demonic powers that be from the Cult of Thorn would latch onto him.
Yeah. Speaking of mental illness, Pamela Voorhees,
mm-hmm.
Is she dude, is she one of the greatest stealth killers ever?
Yes, absolutely. She is, and what was great is, she could do both. She could be stealth, and she could hide in plain sight. She kept such a good smoke screen, was so friendly when we first see her, and she said, "I'm Miss Voorhees. I'm a friend of the Christies." To me, it just immediately let my guard down, and thinking that she was here, and she was going to help. And then she completely did a 180 and became totally crazy. So, she had some control over it somewhat. So it was great. She was stealthy and she could hide in plain sight.
There's a lot of great interaction of. It's really easy to know why Pamela went undetected too. Especially, here they set and filmed this in New Jersey. So, all right, in the countryside of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So here's these people who know about a boy drowning, and keep in mind, in the original Friday the 13th, you don't hear the boy's name until the end of this movie. And it's Pamela who says her son's name. But they say, you hear from the tow truck worker after you hear from Crazy Ralph. Crazy Ralph says, "The place has got a death curse."
Yeah, I loved him.
It's like, yeah, you need to listen to that dude. But the tow truck or the gas worker, the truck driver worker, he's going up that way. So he's dropping this girl off at the crossroads. And then he starts telling her, your boss tell you about the place? Yeah, I'll be cooking for kids. No. About the fires, about the murder. The water was bad. No one knows who did any of it. So he's letting you know, hey, stuff has gone on up there. And no one solved it. But here's the thing. When Steve Christie's riding back with the cops, there's a truck jackknifed. And so this place is probably so used to jackknife trucks, log trucks wrecking. They're more concerned about that than they are a murder that they can't even really begin to remotely solve, because one, only 2 kids were murdered. Okay. A kid did drown. So they probably figured the murders were a one-off.
Right.
So the 2 people you see murdered in the beginning, they probably figured, well, that was a one-off. So Christie's parents also went, people say, broke and crazy. So now I don't know what that all entails there. Broke, I could sort of get, they went bankrupt, they went bottom flat.
Yeah.
But crazy, that has a lot of definition. Like, okay, did you just go crazy from trying to salvage the place? Did you just really fucking mentally lose your mind and snap and just go psychotic? There's a lot of variables there, so I don't know. But the reason Pamela goes unnoticed is because no one really is paying attention to what's all going on up there, and it's only going on around Friday the 13th.
Uh-huh.
So it's only being done so much.
Uh-huh.
It's only being done on a certain date. So when it's being done, no one's putting two and two together that, hey, that was Jason's birthday.
Uh-huh.
Friday the 13th was Jason's birthday. So and when she finally comes, she says, you're right, she says Mrs. Voorhees. Prior to that, though, when Christie's walking back up in the movie, like when he's walking up to the sign, the flashlight turns on, and he says, oh, hi, hey, what are you doing out in this mess? He's not scared. He's not frightened. He's walking toward this person. He trusts this person with his life.
Uh-huh.
And then, boom, they kill him.
Uh-huh.
So he knew the killer.
Uh-huh.
And right there lets you know, go, oh, shit, that's not good.
No.
And that, it's a person who's trusted.
Uh-huh.
So when Pamela shows up, you're right, you don't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
You're sort of like Steve Christie.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're sort of like Steve Christie. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying, Betsy Palmer like nails that role where, I mean, she just seems like, the nice, sweet, older mom person. And she's like, she's coming to save the day, to save this girl. Is like, hi, I'm Miss Voorhees. I'm a friend of the Christies. Are you in trouble? Are you okay? And she sells it. I mean, there's no like menace or any kind of undertone or any hint that she's bad at all.
Right. And then she starts talking about her son. And then
Uh-huh.
it goes from kind of caring to a little bit crazy and really psychotic. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit.
Yeah, she talks herself into a frenzy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's what I mean. Like, Jason, when you watch Friday the 13th, you don't hear Jason until the end of the movie. You don't hear the name Jason
Mm-hmm.
until the end of the movie, and it's from her. So she literally goes just full fucking psycho.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, holy shit, this woman was certifiable. And then you really start asking, how did she like maintain any kind of patience to kill on her son's birthday?
Mm-hmm.
It must have literally been one of the biggest build-ups of her life, where every Friday the 13th, it's sort of like she's taking the pencil and going like this on the calendar.
Yep.
Like, the hand's starting to shake as it gets closer.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that shit.
Oh, yeah. And, she believed, like we were talking about the Cult of Thorn, she believed that Jason was speaking to her and telling her to kill.
Yep.
So, and I think that, like you were saying, as the day drew closer, she could hear it more and more and more. And it was, just really feeding this frenzy within her.
There's going to be a Friday the 13th fan film trailer tomorrow. I'll send it to you when it's on YouTube.
Please do.
But it's called My Special Boy. It's by James Grimm. He's doing that one. I'll send you the trailer when they show it tomorrow.
Awesome.
There's some really good Friday the 13th fan films. Have you ever seen Never Hike Alone?
I haven't, but I've heard that is one of the best.
It is. It's really good. And I like the other one they did, Jason Rises, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was, well, Womstomp Films did this one, but it's called Jason Rises, and it really connects sort of how it sort of gets like Dark Shadows a bit, where Jason and his mother are sort of feeding off the power of Crystal Lake in a weird way.
Oh,
It's like crazy as shit.
Sounds like it.
Like Jason's dead mother starts killing people. I'm like, holy shit.
Exactly.
Like,
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think that the Friday the 13th series would have been better had Jason's mother lived in the first one and she was the killer of the series, or would you prefer it stay as Jason?
I think once the kid came out of the water, it was over.
Yeah.
Because speaking as somebody who watched this as a kid, that's my biggest memory of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love Betsy Palmer. She's a great actress.
Yeah.
She sold her ass off.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we always hear about how everything's about one-upsmanship in these movies and this shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go back to the older movies that we grew the fuck up with.
Mm-hmm.
Because they invented the one-upsman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They really did. Whether it was Carrie, whether it was Friday the 13th, Halloween 2, it was all about top this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I once asked this to some people. I said, what's the imagery of Halloween? When I say who's the Michael,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that white mask. Who's the imagery of Nightmare on Elm Street? Freddy.
Yeah.
You know, who's the imagery for Friday the 13th? Jason.
Jason.
And it just, look, Friday the 13th is a great movie. I love it to death.
Mm-hmm.
And Betsy Palmer, she deserves a lot more credit than. Well, it's not that she doesn't get credit. I think at times she gets forgot about because here's all these bigger killers. But I think, too, she sort of gets lost in her own franchise because the ending of the original Friday the 13th, when Jason comes up out of that water, that's it. That's all she wrote. That's because here's this thing, too. They don't even have to have the line of that girl saying about that boy coming out of the water. That's how over that scene is.
Mm-hmm.
But they still pay it off with that. It's like,
oh, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you had me at, kid jumping out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Yeah.
Jason's an adult by this movie. He's not a kid.
Right.
So the girl was really losing her shit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Which one of the Friday movies is your favorite?
Oh, God. Everybody goes with Final Chapter, and it's good. And I love Jason Lives.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jason Lives is an amazing movie.
Yes, it
It's
is.
fun. It's the conclusion of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
To
That
me,
had the best opening, like mocking 007. I love the opening to that movie. That's great.
instead of the pistol, he's got the machete.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. Jason Liu. I love the knot. How he throws the knives. It takes really great. What's your favorite?
Mine is part 2. I
Nice.
love I love Friday the 13th part 2. I know the continuity between 1 and 2 is a little spotty, but I love Friday the 13th part 2. It's one of those horror movies. It's like a comfort one for me. I can watch it like 2 or 3 times in a row and not be bored. I
Not
just really love it.
not really. For those who saying it has poor continuity, keep in mind, Jason never Jason never actually drowned.
Right.
Jason's mother thought he drowned.
Uh-huh.
Big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And with 2 is, again, he's not, the girl hallucinated. She dreamt about it. He's an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So he was probably watching when his mother was beheaded.
Yeah.
So, which is creepy.
Yeah. And I mean, the great thing that I love about 2 is that, and Friday the 13th is all about the deaths, and this one there's there's no holding back. I mean, like that character named Mark that's in the wheelchair, he has one of the best death scenes of all. And you think, oh, he's not going to get somebody in a wheelchair. Yes, he does. He gets a machete right across the face, and his wheelchair goes down like several flights of stairs, and is somersaulting and turning over. So I mean, there's no one sacred in this movie, and it's just got some great kills, and the final girl, Jenny, is great.
I'll tell you one of my favorite parts. I love how it's all dark in the cabin, and her and Paul are going into this room, and it's dark, and you're sort of saying it before she does, like there's someone in the room. She's like, Paul, there's someone in this room. Like, she knew. She's like she could feel it. Like, that's creepy as shit.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I mean, this may not be your taste or anybody else's, but I loved the sackhead look of Jason. I thought it was very scary.
Man.
I loved it because there was just so much mystery. Like, what did he look like under there?
I'll tell you, they build that really well is when they remove it and they don't show it like right away. Like that, I don't know who made that decision, but that was really psychologically well done. Because instead of whereas in Halloween 1 they pull off the mask and you see the face of Michael, well, when the sack mask comes off, nope, they don't show it. They leave you in suspense, like a little more, and then the jump scare happens through the window and you see it.
Yeah, that was really good, and I liked a lot of the characters in this movie. I mean, I just thought that they were, not just all generic, dead meat characters. I really liked a lot of them, and I thought that everybody had like equally good screen time and moments to kind of develop somewhat.
Yeah.
So Friday 2 is absolutely my favorite.
I like how the fact that when they're in the bar, they're discussing Jason. They're literally discussing. And she's like trying to take, like, he's like, Jason's a legend, Jenny, a legend.
Yeah.
like, and the guy, I forget his name. He's like, he acts like a jackass. It's like, but it's a great set of scenes in that movie.
It is, and I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I loved, and I thought this was very creepy, how Jason had, that little tiny cabin out in the middle of nowhere with a shrine to his mother, and had his mother's severed head like there on a table, and like candles lit around it and everything. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Right, that was holy shit.
Yeah, it was.
Like disturbing.
Yes, it was.
It's like Michael's pure evil, but Jason is just pure psychotic. Like anybody who puts their dead mother's severed head. Fuck yeah. Like, yeah, man, they make funeral homes, man. Maybe you should pay them a visit.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm ruining the movie for everybody, like you were talking about the jump scare, but there was a line, and I guess because sometimes I have a dark sense of humor at times, there was a line at the beginning of the movie when the lead counselor, Paul, was, he said, and ladies, it was, I can't remember exactly word for word what he said, but he said more or less, if you're going through your time of the month, make sure you keep clean because there are bears in the area. And I was thinking, how funny would that have been if after Jenny attacked Jason, that it would have been a bear that jumped through the window and grabbed her instead.
That's the thing. Here's the thing too. I mean, they do teach you that shit too. It's like the shit they teach you for like camp is like basically what he's saying,
Yeah.
and it's like you could tell this dude took horses fucking
Right.
like what he do? Just like get out the handbook and like have it in front of him or some shit. Like
More or less, yeah.
Paul was like literally Jesus Christ. But yeah, he's letting him know about the wildlife, and I do think that's like because there are bears up here. I told you about the time Jolie saw one on the road,
Yeah.
and it's just like
Mhm.
insane shit there.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. Like if they were doing a Friday the 13th in the middle of the fucking woods during the summer,
Hmm.
and like a bear interrupted the film, that would be sick shit.
Yes, it would.
Because
Yeah.
them things are so quiet.
Hmm.
Like you don't hear them.
Hmm.
So it's too.
Yeah.
There was there was this video I seen. There was this photographer from National Geographic. He was filming instead of photoing,
Yeah.
and he's just like by the lake, by his fire. He's getting ready to go down for the night. This bear comes up right beside him and starts drinking. He's filming. He just turns the camera. He holds real still, and the bear just walks away. And he's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And then that's what they tell you to do, just like be completely motionless. And yeah, oh gosh, that would be really hard. That would be really hard to do.
Now, from my wife's experience, she was telling me that she was driving to work when she was working, and she seen these black feet coming up off the road, and she's like, she could see that it was a bear,
Hmm.
so she can't go around. She like can't go around this, and it was like taking up the lanes. There's
Hmm.
only two lanes going off our road, and then it stayed in. By the time it stayed in her lane, a truck comes up behind her. She stopped.
Hmm.
This truck's laying on its fucking horn, and she wouldn't move. And this truck goes around her. He goes to say something to her. Then he sees what's in front of her, and he doesn't say shit.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, and she's like,
Yeah. Really. What an idiot. Oh my gosh.
oh my god, dude. Oh my god.
If that would have been a horror movie, he would have been mauled, and he would have deserved it too.
I'm like, she was telling him about it. She goes, there are people who are just stupid.
Yes.
She
Yes.
goes, there are really just stupid people out there. She goes, yes,
Yeah.
there are, honey. Yes, there are. But I was just like, she's like, that's just crazy. But I think that's the thing, too, with Friday the 13th.
Hmm.
You're right, Paul. If that would have been a bear that come through that window, that'd have been crazy.
Yeah, it would have been. So, but yeah, I really enjoy the Friday movies. They're you don't get very many, a whole lot of summer uh, horror movies. A lot of them are fall and more centered around Halloween time, thanks to John Carpenter. And it's uh, it's really cool to get ones that take place in the daytime, like Friday the 13th does. And I really appreciate that a lot because you don't get a lot of daytime horror movies.
No, you don't. I mean, like you said, a lot of these horror movies are set from the fall because of John Carpenter. But yeah, I think Friday the 13th is really just a fun summer horror movie. Even
Yes.
when they do sort of set it in the fall or like the early spring, it's just a good, they film it in the woods and they do it right.
Mm-hmm.
I, I'll tell you what, 5 is really underrated to me,
I agree
you know.
very much.
What did you think of Roy Burns?
I was kind of on his side in some ways because, I mean, these people were, running excuse me, a supposed rehab camp for troubled people, and really the only um, you know troubled person was the one that they gave an axe to and was letting him chop wood.
Right.
Yeah, let me take revenge on them. Those people needed needed gotten. So I mean, a lot of the other kids were okay. I mean, his son was, I mean, you could tell he had some kind of mental health issue, but
Right.
I don't think he was a bad kid. And that one girl, Robin, I don't think she was, or um, I think her name was Tina, the actress that was Deborah Sue Voorhees was her real name. A lot of the kids weren't bad kids, but the one that they gave the axe to and let him chop the wood and stuff was, yeah, that was messed up. So I think Roy had every right to go after those people.
Yeah, it's a really great revenge movie. And
Yes, it is.
it's really, I love how they try to set up Tommy in this movie.
Mm-hmm,
They really do it smart and they do it clever.
mm-hmm,
And I think it's one of the best Friday the 13th movies out there. It pays homage to the original in
mm-hmm.
every way, but it's also its own movie. It doesn't try to be the original,
Mm-hmm.
which is clever. And
Mm-hmm.
5 movies in, and you can still be this clever.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a soft reboot in a way, but it was great because you were thinking, okay, they killed Jason in the last one, so who's doing this? And it all fingers point at Tommy, that some way, somehow, that he's doing this until the end when little Reggie the Reckless, gets on his big like Tonka truck, bulldozer thing to go after, who he thought was Jason. And you see Tommy come out and you're like, okay, so it's not him. Who is this?
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was great. And I thought that was a nice surprise at the end where they found the picture of his son in his wallet, and what they found on the body. So I thought that was really cool.
I love the sheriff in this movie. How
Uh,
the mayor's pressing him like, it's not Jason. They cremated his body. Did they, Mayor? Were you there when they cremated his body? I love that line.
yeah,
It's
they they
one of the best cops in a horror movie is that cop, and he doesn't have enough dialogue in that movie either.
right. No, I agree. I think so too. And it's not often that you get really good cops in horror movies, but I think Halloween had a lot of good ones. My favorite, personally, I like Deputy Hunt from Halloween 2. Um, but I like Sheriff Meeker, Sheriff Brackett, and I love the cop from Friday 5.
I'm working on a Halloween reboot story. I'll have it up by tomorrow. I'll send it to you to read. You're gonna love the cop from 1963.
Uh,
I won't say whether you'll love the cop from 1978 or not. That'll be determined.
okay. All right. Awesome.
there's there's no Dr. Loomis in this story. There's
Oh,
no
okay.
Laurie Strode. There is a Dr. Darius Glover in my story though. So, but I will say this with Friday the 13th too.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't love 7, but I love the psychology of it
Yeah.
because they got into the psychology. They got into literal psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of wish they would have took a little more advantage of it in the movie because instead of just having a psychologist actually be a heel, because to me there were my issue with 7 is too there's a lot of heel there's a heel woman too. To me, you didn't need the heel guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if she's just getting tortured by this girl, in the memory of her dead father, that would have been enough to bring Jason back out of the water to me.
Yeah, I think so too. And I appreciate what they were doing, like the early mashups, like trying to have their own version without, without saying and paying for the name of Carrie versus Jason. Um, it was, I appreciate what they were setting up and trying to do.
I'll take it one further. To me, this was Jean Grey versus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Phoenix versus. Yep.
Jason. I shouldn't laugh. I had Chris Jennings go against Jason.
Nah.
But I get what they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they get into psychology. I don't feel they do enough with it,
Mm-hmm.
but really, really interesting. I think the effects in it are fun. Like that's the one thing about the movie. It's fun to watch from that standpoint. Jason, what did you think about Jason Takes Manhattan?
It's a movie I love and hate with equal passion. um, it's my okay. That was the first Jason movie that I saw. That was the first Friday the 13th that I saw, and I saw it on. I think it was on USA or USA or TBS, but I'm pretty sure it was USA. And I was only about 11 at the time, so it kind of freaked me out because I wasn't used to watching horror stuff yet. But it's like with the name Jason Takes Manhattan, it's so misleading. And they spent way too much time on the boat. And then when they finally get to New York, I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. And it's like, I don't know, there's fun parts in it that I love. And the great parts are really great, but the lows are really low.
I'll give a shout out for this because he was telling me this too. And he made a great point too, just like you did. Shout out to Butch Rosenbaum. We did a Friday the 13th video too. And he said that they weren't really filming. The only scene you film that is actually in New York is when you see the hockey built, like when you see the
Yeah,
hockey.
I swear, yeah.
Yeah, he, but the rest is in Canada because
Yep.
they didn't have the money, and it's just like I even said I felt this should have been Jason versus the New York City Police. He said, yeah, they did. It was supposed to be, but they didn't have the money for that.
Right.
It's like, and here's the thing, you know, I'm going to compare it to a story I did, Hell on Halloween Night.
Mm-hmm.
I had no debate on who to bring where. I knew I'm bringing Michael to Collinsport because why the flying fuck would Barnabas go to Haddonfield?
Right.
When you're having a killer go somewhere out of their zone, how are not necessarily always why are they going there, but how are they getting there?
Mm-hmm.
Here's one for you. How about what should have happened was the ship's anchor should have caught Jason's body and it should have pulled it up from the surface and he just hangs on the boat the whole movie. He makes it there, lightning hits the boat, he wakes up and he's pissed off.
Yeah.
And then he starts going there. He doesn't, I'm with like I don't hate it as much as you do. I will say like I get they needed to get it there.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite scene is when Jason kicks the boombox. I'm thinking, man, the Jets could use that guy right there.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like Jason needs to go be a kicker, but I'm with you. There's not enough New York in this movie. There isn't. It's the title. Yeah, he's in Manhattan. Just like Paul Kersey was in New York for Death Wish 3, even though it was filmed in London.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And I guess what went really sour for me was the ending of like toxic sludge turned him back into a little boy. That was something that still blows my mind, and I've tried to make sense of it. But you know, growing up in a small town, in West Virginia, I mean, I saw how filthy New York looked in this movie, and that's how I pictured it, being in real life, that it was this grimy, dirty city with barrels of toxic sludge around, just like it was in the movie. And, um, it's just, I loved a lot of the deaths and different things. And, one of my favorites was when Julius was, in a boxing match and punching Jason. I look at this movie as it's more about fun factor for me, and there is a lot of fun to be had. It could have been better, but there is a lot of fun to be had with this movie.
There is. The movie is a fun watch, but
Yeah,
does it have issues? Yes, it does.
yeah. It's a flawed, fun movie.
I'll tell you, my favorite, one of my favorite parts is when Jason comes up out of the water and he's looking around like, what the? And it just
Yep. Yep. And I love when he goes by the guys with the boombox, and one of them says something to him, and he lifts his mask, and they're like, "Okay, we're cool," and they all take off running. That's great.
like, dude, like, you ain't got nothing on this here.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my God. It took Paul Kersey how many movies to clean up New York? It only take Jason one.
Yes. Exactly.
My God. Oh my God. Craziness.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think now Jason Goes to Hell was a really great movie. I love Jason Goes to Hell, like the body jumping.
Mm-hmm.
It's like holy shit, the psychology of that.
Uh-huh.
Like the worm, like the going into the body. It's like that was crazy but fun.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was definitely, you know, um, like Friday Five. It was definitely a different take on Jason. I think that was the first time that was it that New Line got the rights to Friday the 13th. I think
I believe so.
because they were setting up a Freddy versus Jason at the end of that, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it was a really unique take on Jason, how he could jump from body to body. That's something we definitely never seen before.
Do you think we'll ever see another big time versus villain, or do you think that ship has sailed?
Um, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said the ship has sailed. But judging on like how Godzilla versus Kong did and how good that was and fun it was, I think people would be up again for seeing a good versus movie.
I think we will. It may not be something everybody wants necessarily, but I think it'll be something that catches people's attention.
Yeah.
I think it will. I think Michael will be the next person that versus somebody. I don't
Oh.
know who, but I'll make a pick because they're under the same flagship currently.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll go against Chucky.
Oh, okay.
And with Chucky, all his dolls and shit. Now I don't know how they're gonna pull that together. Well, actually, I'll spot them a concept. Andy moves into the Myers house,
Mm-hmm.
knowing it. He finds out its history, and he writes Charles, like, meet me here on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows what something bad's gonna happen. He figures, fuck it,
Yep.
fuck it.
I was thinking Michael versus Reagan from The Exorcist.
Yes.
Maybe the family moves into the Myers house, and then that's when evil stuff starts happening to Reagan.
So, if they, well, someone I think it was Christian Hanna said Leatherface and The Purge. That would be interesting, actually.
Oh yeah.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But here's the thing too. Now I know Friday the 13th still like doing the legal thing, like and shit.
Yeah, it's gridlocked in, unfortunately. Yeah.
But and I don't know what Warner Brothers is going to do with the Nightmare on Elm Street. Hopefully they do something with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I want to see another versus because Jason and Freddy was just fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That movie is just rewatchable a bunch of times.
Oh yeah.
Like I watched that with my wife here a couple days ago. She goes, that movie was chaotic." I said,
Yeah.
"Yes, it was, but it's fun."
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And that's what's great about those is there's just anything can happen, and it's just always fun to go back to and see.
Now we've seen like if you ever like with the Batman animated movies, we've had Batman versus Dracula and shit like that. Now, could you see like Butch had said this, and I got to give him credit, where all the horror movie, uh, Leatherface, Michael, Jason, Freddy, Pinhead, the puppet masters, the puppets, the
Mm-hmm.
puppet master, all come together, and they go against the Universal monsters, and it's one big mashup.
Oh no, that would be cool.
That would.
Would be really cool. The slashers versus the mashers. So that's great.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
The
It'd
monster
be
mashers.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I'll say this: there have been disappointment movies, like Alien versus Predator was disappointment
Mm-hmm.
for me, but the build up to it was decent. Like I love Predator 2.
Mm-hmm.
That to me was really really good. But I think too, again, studios have to see the money too.
Yeah.
If they see money in these two products coming together, they're going to make the movie, no matter what anyone says.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do hope eventually we get some sort of, because you're right, Godzilla and Kong made a lot of money and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
And
was.
so you got to think, hey, maybe somebody's paying attention to this and go, you know what, we can do that with these two characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep. And I'd love it where if they would put them in the same universe together. So that would be great. I would really like that.
What's something you've always found strange about Jason or the Friday the 13th franchise? Is there anything you find strange about it?
Something I find strange about it. Mm, I don't know if I would say strange. I want to say there were times I felt like um, they were in competition with Halloween.
Yeah.
There was a big, big competition between them. Um, but I don't know that I would necessarily call that strange, but um, I don't know. What about you?
Jason's dad never being in the picture in any of these movies.
Oh, that's true.
Because what the. Now, we know they don't include the Book of the Dead until later on, but I'm sort of wondering if he is the one who read from the Book of the Dead for Jason to come back to life.
That's
Because
true.
we never see his ass.
Mm-hmm.
So that
True.
to me, out of all the Friday the 13th stuff, that's the strangest thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
where the hell is this kid's dad?
Yeah.
Even when he's an adult, it's like, where is he?
Yeah. So he never really knew his father. So
Right.
and from all that we've seen, so it's hard to tell who he is.
Is there anything you want to add, man?
I have one quick question. Okay, with Halloween 5, it was the one that really got the ball rolling about the Cult of Thorn. Was Doctor Doom supposed to be a part of the cult?
There was a Doctor Death that
Doctor
that,
Death. Okay, I'm
that
sorry.
was
Thank
now
you.
I could see why you confused the name, because there's a scene where there's this guy who's bringing Michael back to life, and he's Doctor Death, and he has something to do with the cult.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, to me, I really like. I've seen the scene that they've had on YouTube,
Hmm.
and it's just like, uh, no offense, that I don't care for that, because
It's
it's
better
like,
without it.
yeah, it's better, way better. Like Michael, Michael getting nursed back by a hermit, and then
Hmm.
him killing the hermit is
Hmm. Way
when
better
Doc.
than Doctor Death.
Yeah, yeah. If I can find the clip, I'll send it to you. But
Okay.
it's it's really weird. It's just, talk about. I asked you what was like strange. That there was strange. Like
Hmm.
if they would have put that in a Halloween, you would have lost me. Like
Yeah.
that, I like there like, for people who say, well, Halloween movies, they just made them to made them. I would disagree, because if they were just to make them, that piece of shit footage would have made it into that movie,
Yeah.
because they had to have some sense of, you know what, if we put that in, we're losing our audience. Because keep in mind, I didn't see this movie in theater in 1989. I
Hmm.
saw this shit on VHS and watched it,
Hmm.
and it didn't lose me. But if they would have had that scene in there,
Hmm.
I'm checking out. I like, what the fuck is that?
That's how I felt about the producer's cut of Halloween 6, with Michael being the father of Jamie's baby. That was um that was a really big thing of that really made me choose the theatrical over the producer's cut.
See now, Michael's the daddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, next you're going to see Michael doing a pimp walk because he's a baby daddy, but I don't know. That just didn't. I I just didn't really like that part of the producer's cut. I mean, there's things I like better, some things, but that part I could have done without. I thought it was better without him being the dad of uh, his niece's baby.
Yeah, I just think, like, there are things in movies that are just like mind-boggling, or producers' cuts. It's just like, yeah, I'm not feeling that right there.
Yeah, there's a reason why it was cut, and I think that they were justified in doing the way they did it.
Stay on here with me. I'm going to stop recording, but I'm going to talk to you here for a bit. For Mark Gillman, I'm resident of Collinwood. You guys have a good night. Bye bye.
Bye.